Welcome to day 3 of the CFL free agency special. I'm your host, Emmanuel Point du jour, and today we are sticking in Alberta, but we are heading down south to Calgary. And what the Stampeders did in free agency, and I think they're a bit more aggressive than years past. A lot of years they would just sign these undrafted free agents we didn't know, and then they would start the season and it would be great 10 plus wins and all of that. But this year it's a bit different because in 2024, only 5 wins to show for. There had to be a change in the system, and that's where we are this offseason. A lot of new guys, a lot of new faces appearing for the Stamps. But let's start with their re-signings. And we start with running back Dedrick Mills coming back to the Stamps. And he had over 900 yards last season in only 13 games. So imagine what he could do over an 18 game sample size. I think well over 1,000 yards, maybe 1,200 yards, something like that in a full year if we can run the ball effectively. And we should be able to do that now with Vernon Adams and the threat that he is in the offense. I think Mills will have a big year, could have a big year in 2025. You got wide receiver Jalen Philpott. That was a very important re-signing for the Stampeders. You had to pay a little bit more, 185, 190, that range, obviously 1,000. But you had to re-sign him. Canadian, he's got a lot of potential. I think he had over 600 yards last season. So happy that he is back. You got 2 offensive linemen in Deontay Demery and Zach Williams, linebacker Micah Tights, and then the GOAT kicker Rene Paredes back for 2 more seasons, and then he is going to call it a career. So keep up that efficiency, Rene, because we know he is the GOAT.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Then let's get to the additions. You have obviously quarterback Vernon Adams Jr. via trade with BC, sending out some draft picks, but the Stampeders kept the number 1 overall pick. I think that was really important, and VA provides, kind of that running ability, something that the Stampeders have not had since Doug Flutie. So it's going to be really, really nice to have, not only a guy that can throw the ball, but a guy that can also, escape when the pocket is closing and get outside the pocket, throw on the run, or just take off with his legs. So that's going to be really nice to have in this Stampeders offense. Running back Jeshron Antwi signs with the Stamps, kind of a homecoming for him being a Calgary Dino. And Dominique Rhymes, wide receiver, signs with Calgary as well. He rejoins VA after spending, I think, a year or 2 in BC. They had a great connection. Let's hope that can transfer over to 2025. You have wide receiver Tevin Jones from Edmonton, who I just know as the killer of the Stampeders on Labor Day, because in 2024 he put over 200 yards on the Calgary defense, plus a couple of touchdowns. Yeah, let's hope he can do that against Edmonton this time, Labor Day in 2025. But nice for him to sign with the Stampeders. Hopefully some revenge on the Elks this year around. Let's go to the defense now. You got Folarin Orimolade, also via trade from Toronto. Cam Judge gets sent out to the Argos in exchange, and he's really going to help on that defensive line. Obviously, last year it was tough getting to the quarterback, getting pressure. He definitely helps. He's not the only guy that's going to be on this defensive line, hopefully. We'll have to see what they do with this defensive line, but he will definitely be a star-studded addition. And his production kind of has, not been as good as in 2022 or in 2023, but I still think he can produce at a very high level. Defensive lineman Miles Brown also joins from Saskatchewan, And then the linebackers, you got Fraser Sopik. I really like that signing from Toronto. He's really going to help. Linebacker Derek Moncrief from Edmonton, and then Gary Johnson Jr. from Ottawa. And then defensive backs, you got Damon, Webb, the All-Star last year from Ottawa. He's going to help in that secondary, lock it down with, I thought was going to be with Demario Houston, but some reports came out and he had to be released, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens with the secondary, because I think it's kind of incomplete right there. So we'll see what happens moving forward into the draft and in training camp if the Stamps address that position. Now let's get to the losses, and you start with all three quarterbacks from last year. Jake Mayer, Matthew Schultz, and Tommy Stevens gone, gone, gone. Two of them went to Saskatchewan, and Jake Mayer and Tommy Stevens. One of them went to Ottawa. Matthew Schultz did. So all three of them gone. New quarterbacks in the fold in Vernon Adams Jr. and PJ Walker. Kind of sad to see Tommy Stevens leave because he was just the GOAT in short yardage. But, he left to Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan was tired of Stevens just running for 70 yards, sneak touchdowns. So they just decided, we're going to sign him, and that's a really good signing for Saskatchewan. Now they don't have to deal with that anymore. Running back Peyton Logan, he goes to Winnipeg to, I think, be the backup there to Brady Oliveira. Wide receiver Trey Odoms Dukes, he's on his way to Edmonton, if I'm not mistaken. I talked about it yesterday. Offensive lineman Sean McEwen heads to Saskatchewan. Man, we're going to be talking about them tomorrow. They have a really good team now. I think they improved everywhere, it seemed like. And Saskatchewan, they'll be a team to watch out for. And now they add Sean McEwen to the fold. Defensive lineman Mike Rose, he also heads to the Rough Riders. Defensive lineman James Vaughters, and these were the two defensive linemen that got released for Calgary just a couple weeks ago, and they find new homes. Mike Rose in Saskatchewan, and then James Vaughters heads to Winnipeg with Willie Jefferson, and that really good defensive line over there. Linebacker Cameron Judge, we talked about him. He was traded to Toronto. Linebacker Micah Alway, he goes to BC. Defensive backs Trey Roberson, Kobe Williams. Trey Roberson goes to Ottawa. Kobe Williams signs with the Elks. Seems like everyone signed with the Elks. Jeez. And then defensive back Demario Houston, who got released due to, some off the field stuff that happened. And then punter Cody Grace, who heads to the Elks. So a lot of players leaving, but that was kind of to be expected with the struggles last year around the team, and only 5 wins. So you had to expect some changes were going to be made. And that's a lot of pretty good names, but unfortunately had to let them walk in free agency. And we'll see what the Stampeders, or how the Stampeders, rebound from 2024, and if they can win more games. I think they should be able to. The quarterback, has improved. The running back position is pretty solidified with Mills there, who I talked about last season, had over 900 yards, and Jeshurun Antwi being the backup. So the Stampeders trying to get a new identity, a new team there. Some coaches also left in Mark Killam and Brett Monson. We'll see what happens with the Stamps moving into 2025. But that will do it for this edition of the CFL Free Agency Special, Calgary Stampeders. Tomorrow, we are headed to Saskatchewan to break down the Rough Riders free agency. And as I said, they are going to be a scary team next season. Obviously, health, I think, being the biggest concern, but they should be really good, and we're going to break that all down tomorrow. We go 9 straight days with covering every single team. We are on team, 3 today, but number 4 tomorrow. Until then, we'll see you later. Peace.